Dana.
Blake.
Blake. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Rancho Mirage City Council for Thursday, January 16th. The City Council also sits as the Library Board, the Housing Authority Board, and the council representing the Redevelopment Successor Agency. So as we begin our first meeting of 2014, I'd like to invite you all to stand and join Councilwoman Smotrich in the flag salute.
Please join me with your hand over your heart. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Iris. And Cindy, can you do the roll call, please?
Sure. Councilmember Hines?
Present.
Councilmember Hobart? Here. Mayor Pro Tem Smotrich? Here. Councilmember Weil?
Here.
And Mayor Kite?
Here. Today we're going to begin the meeting with a few presentations, and I'm going to start by receiving an update on the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. John Hicks, the project manager, is here. And John, it's good to see you for your regular monthly report.
Always a pleasure, Mayor. Members of Council, a pleasure to see you once again. Let's see. Well, it's been actually quite an exciting week starting out. We've had the Gas Hunt Company on our site now for, if you count today, 3 days. In commissioning the gas services for the hotel, getting appliances on. They're actually going to get the appliances on today. This afternoon they will get the meter set for the spa building, and tomorrow they will have the meter set for the spa suites. With that, we finally get hot water in the building. So it's been a long time coming. If we start from the entrance of the hotel, I actually apologize, I was on the phone, so I have some photographs if anybody's interested. But the entrance of the hotel at the Porte Cochere, if you remember right, and walking up there, the landscape around our fountain was rather weedy. That has been completely cleaned up, recontoured. We have new plants, so you're welcome to come on up and see it. I have a photograph, like I said, that I'll hand over to, excuse me a second. And the photograph will give you an idea on how we modified it. We actually brought in some, with the assistance of our landscape team, brought something that was a little bit more conducive to the environment and the hotel. So we got rid of all of those weedy plants, and now it looks absolutely spectacular. We have the last of our concrete pours scheduled for the early part of next week. And when I say the last, these are some a couple of little ancillary stairs at egress corridors, which is how you get out of the building along Wing C and behind the spa building. Yesterday, in the service area, we had the little bit of asphalt that was brought into the site. Curbs, gutters are all done. You can actually walk around the site now and not get your shoes dirty. As we move into the interior of the hotel, finishes through the public area are about 90% complete. So much so that the furnishings have been placed in the lobby. You'll see that in the photographs. All the way through to the three-meal restaurant, we have booths that are starting to be placed with leather bottoms and fabric and leather tops. Terrace furniture is being placed. The swimming pools have water in the main pool area. Landscape continues throughout the entire property, and they're actually putting the larger plants over between Wing C, the events lawn. The large events lawn is currently being landscaped. They got the irrigation complete. Around the spa suites, we now have the entry gates installed, painted. Stone is 90% complete. There is a hot tub for each spa suite. They're actually putting the natural stone around those. They're going to be fixturing them next week and putting in the final touches on the landscape around the spa suites. The spa itself We just finished installing the last yard of wall covering, so that is 100% complete. And you never can imagine, but we actually got impacted by that serious freeze that occurred in the Midwest, that Arctic freeze. We've been waiting for some specialty paints to arrive. They're only made by one manufacturer in the world. And now that it's thawed out a little bit, the truck finally started moving Tuesday of this week. We expect it to arrive first part of next week, so our painter can actually get that final special paint put on the walls. We have people that specialize in Venetian plasters and specialty plasters applying the last bit of finishes. And the last thing to go on the walls now is going to be the artwork and artifacting and so on and so on. We continue to push through Wing A. We finally started staging the furniture in Wing A. We expect by Monday we'll be staging furniture in Wing A Level 1. And still a little bit of paint to go in Wing C, Level 2 and Level 1. But we're asking the contractor to wrap up that paint first part of next week, so this way we can start focusing our attentions on fire life safety testing. Our alarm company's been out there. The inspectors continue to show up on a daily basis. And in speaking with the fire department, once we get the painters out of the building, we're looking at 3 days worth of testing, and that will conclude our fire alarm. But we have to make sure that we don't have any false alarms between that testing. And so we're working on getting the painters out of the building permanently. And everything else is really now focusing on getting wall covers, all of our specialty wall coverings in. They're about 90% complete. And we have a crew that's starting this weekend that'll start focusing their attention on finishing of the presidential suites and a couple of the other suites that we have throughout the building. And I think that's it for right now. If there's specific questions?
Can you just speak briefly about the landscaping on the exterior areas?
As far as throughout the hotel, they are, for the large plants, 100% complete around the pool area. They are 70% complete, and the crew is growing. 70% complete around the events lawn and infinity pool area. They're about 70% complete with the planting. That gives them until next week to actually start planting the front of the hotel. The porte cochere is just missing ground cover. We actually got the annual flowers planted. All the specimen species of plants have been planted. We have an indoor cactus garden that has been completed. So really, I think on an overall scope basis, I'd say we're about 80% complete with of the plantings that we need to actually put into the ground. The last thing to arrive is ground cover and small flowers, and those are coming in daily.
Okay. Noticed last time I was up there on the entrance to the hotel, a lot of the landscaping is done there off of Frank Sinatra now, and it has been done, I guess, for a while.
Yes, it has. So we dressed up the entrance a little bit. Yes, that is correct.
So is from that point coming down towards City Hall, how are we doing on the landscaping?
Well, we started out good. We had a little bit of a challenge that occurred that we're working through with the planning department, and once we get that worked up, we'll restart and do what we need to do to get the first, I guess as you go up the middle of the hill, there's a flat area that needs to be completed. Current schedule on that one, that's the one where I'm still running into a little bit of challenge. As you know, there's quite a bit of rock there. The challenge that occurred this week in the work of Frank Sinatra, we're managing our way through. My original schedule, they were going to complete from the end of Wing B, which is basically Sinatra, the large slope of the hotel that you can see. January 27th, as they were going to complete that. And then the cleanup would end right around the middle of February to end of February. Right now, I'm on a day-to-day push until I resolve a couple of challenges that occurred. Okay. So right now, January 27th is pushing to February 5th. February 25th is now February 28th. So I told them, whenever we schedule that grand opening party, I don't expect to see their trucks on Frank Sinatra. So we'll see how we do there.
Okay. You still have March 1 as the tentative turnover date from
As it stands, all of my executive management and executive committee has told me nothing other than March 1.
Okay.
So,
Okay, any questions? Scott?
Just real quick, John, could you elaborate a little bit on the challenges? I understand that there's an issue with submitting a landscape plan, and maybe that was overlooked, or that it just slipped through the cracks. Could you help us understand what's going on?
I won't say slip through the cracks, nor will I say that we missed it. There was conversations that occurred, and between the Ritz-Carlton, my executive team is, we're a developer, and there's a lot of steps to get a plan designed, especially when you're looking at my landscape budget is, if you can imagine, a very healthy 7-figure budget, okay, for this project. Where I suffered a challenge is within 0.5% of that overall budget. There is, right now we're going through the historical plans. I started the landscape under the advice that I would go in and landscape under the existing drawings, under my existing permit. And probably the only oversight is when I decided to add an enhancement to that. As soon as I started to enhance it, that's where I experienced the challenge. And without getting into too much details, obviously it imposed a stop work order, which the city was obligated to provide me, so I apologize for that. It's the first time I've ever been issued a stop work notice in 20 plus years. Actually, I've never seen one before, so I'm going to have this one framed. But we're managing through that right now.
And is it my understanding also that the HOA master group at Mirage also has to weigh in or approve the landscaping plan for the landscaping along Frank Sinatra?
That will be continued to be a subject of debate. I mean, we carry 5 of the seats in the Master Association out of 9. Mm-hmm. So the challenge occurred with a particular homeowner. That homeowner continued to push all the way up into Saturday. What was brought to my attention all the way into Saturday, and unfortunately, the only thing that caught me off guard is that the city had to exercise their responsibilities and issue that stop work notice.
So the resolution is to amend or re-up the landscaping plan and get everybody sign off, and then
in
we move
order
right
to
back
start
forward.
work, I've had a couple of discussions with planning. Currently, I have your city clerk has been working diligently over the last week to pull up the archive drawings for what was originally planted. Right. We're going to work off of those. I have an affidavit that I will need to pick up.
Okay.
And I will turn my attentions to, there was obviously, I feel for the residents in the area as well as the city. The top of Frank Sinatra, 6 years ago, the previous development group allowed that landscape to fall into a serious disrepair.
Right.
Ideally, it would have been nice if they would have maintained Frank Sinatra, because what I'm faced with now is as soon as I pull those existing documents, my landscape team will analyze the size and species that was originally planted, and we will replace what died. So I've shifted from an enhancement mode to purely an obligation that I know we are contractually obligated to the city, and that is remove the invasive species of grass, restore the existing irrigation, and replace the landscape that was removed due to lack of water and maintenance. And that's where I'm shifting to, quite frankly, right now. And then I've already notified the Ritz-Carlton executive management. I've notified my executive management. It's disheartening and unfortunate that this had to happen. But like I said, we're accustomed to developing. There's challenges that rise, and we manage our way through it. And we will continue to manage our way through it. I've already talked to the planning about if necessity requires going past the grand opening date, and if I have to come in and request a C of O, they have notified me as to what would have to occur, and we're fully prepared to do whatever is required to make sure we can be issued our C of O on time. And then maybe you might see my face a few more times after opening, and then we Maybe this might be latent, but we start focusing our attentions on phase 2, phase 3.
Great. And John, one more request for you too, or actually two. There's an area kind of back behind the management trailers that appears to be kind of a debris area where I think trash and things are kind of accumulating, and it's getting a little unsightly at this point. And there are just a few homes that look down on it, and those
Yes.
homeowners have contacted me with some pictures. Is that a area that, say, like on a weekly basis, you haul away the garbage, or what is?
Actually, what they probably look at trash was actually sitting in the garage. As you can imagine, at this point, we're turning areas over to the Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
A part of that was 30,000 square feet of my garage, and those are actually construction materials that are being pulled into engineering areas. It's duct work. I know they've boxed it and framed it, but there again, it is construction material. So duct work, plumbing, some insulation that goes around the pipes that they're working on. I can have a discussion with the contractor to see what they can do to take care of that.
Sure, just to keep the communication flowing.
No problem.
I might I'll email you a picture of this and make sure that we're
Okay.
talking apples and apples.
You're talking about that lowest pad in the site. It sits behind the construction trailers about 20 feet down.
Yeah, it's kind of in a gully. Yeah, exactly. So, we just want to make sure throughout the process that we're keeping everybody's properties in mind as we go through. And then just one last thing. I've heard twice now, and it's just normal communication here, but I want to pass on to you. Some of the construction guys are pretty aggressive drivers on Frank Sinatra, and I've had a few folks kind of trying to make that quick left turn cut in as residents are coming down. And could you maybe in your next staff meeting just do a quick little reminder, everybody, on traffic safety and make sure that we're...
Exactly. We've actually had, there was a couple of guys that, a consequence for speeding through our job site, found themselves walking into the job site. So I will address it with the contractor and we'll take the appropriate action.
Yeah, I had
Heaven forbid we have somebody hurt.
two incidences this week, in
Yeah.
fact. So just just a quick reminder in your staff meeting, please, because safety, we don't want to dampen the celebration that's impending by a traffic accident. of some
I concur.
kind.
That will definitely be addressed.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Scott? Ted? You have anything? Iris? Dana? Okay, thanks, John. Phil, would you like to say anything today?
Mr. Mayor, I have the photos available if you care to see them.
Okay, if you want to just run
Yeah.
through the photos.
Absolutely. Not a problem. Although off at a distance, this is what I was talking about, the landscape. The only thing that we have left to do actually in this photo is ground cover, and then we have, everybody remembers the bighorn sculpture that used to sit out front. There was a male and female. The only thing we have left to do is actually place those.
You're putting those back at the
Correct.
Porte Cochere.
Back at the entrance. So this is a part of the just addressing up of that landscape, just to like I said, the original planting that was there. What you're looking at is our main lobby. Leather furniture is being moved in. You can see the lamps that are waiting for the accent tables. We had 7 tons of glass that was moved in, so we pushed the furniture a little closer to the fireplace just so the guys had a pathway to get back to the kitchen. That bookshelf that you see to the left of the column is actually an artist's piece. Ritz-Carlton and our interior design team that's actually in our office is looking at artifacting that right now. So you'll see artworks and pieces that will be conducive to the environment being placed on there probably within the next 30 days. Again, just another photograph of the lobby. That is the indoor cactus garden I was telling you about. Now what you're looking at is a completed retail corridor, floor finish, wall finishes, wall sconces placed, illuminated. Glass is all complete, all the millwork's complete. To the right we have the junior ballroom for those of you who have been on the site already, and to the left is actually the retail area. This is our junior ballroom. I was going to go to a wider shot, but we were storing some ballroom chairs and such temporarily, and that is actually going to be, those are leather panels that are being installed currently. That is actually, that wall covering is actually a artisan paper wall covering. It's got this waffle cone pattern. This area is being cleaned up this weekend, and we actually start to install the carpet Monday. This is just a quick lobby view. You can see all those boxes. This is like moving into your new home, except 200 rooms in this hotel, in this house. Leather booths, all green leather. You can see the millwork that's going in now. Everything that you're looking at is anywhere from 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch mahogany, depending on how it's trimmed out and the detail of the location. The booths, seats are actually leather. And then you can see the mahogany panels that they actually slide into. There's going to be an area rug. Kitchen, for those of you who've been up on the hill, you got probably accustomed to seeing this stainless steel. It looked like gray paint. There was so much dust on it after the years. Now we have it shining and sparkling, and it's actually, the kitchen is in the process of its final clean early next week in preparation for the health department, pending our hot water today. Again, another kitchen view. Layers of dust have been removed. This is actually a custom, where I'm standing, taking a photograph. This is an outdoor private dining area. It's being set up for 12 seats, and that is a custom steel screen that we've installed. They stood that up about 3 weeks ago. It's been painted and the stone replaced. So it starts giving an idea on some of the things. Now we just have lamps to be placed, and the tables are going to be moving there over the weekend. This is what I was telling you, where really this area we have left to do ground cover and annual flowers. We're trying to make sure we pick the flowers correctly based on the season we're going into, so they don't start dying. The blooms don't start dying by the time we open. We want it to be nice and fresh. Furniture being placed along the pool area. The last thing that we have to complete in the pool area, which will be starting Monday, is there are some private cabanas that people will be able to rent. Monday we will start erecting the structure for each one of those cabanas. Then we have our low voltage. If you want to watch your football game or tennis match with inside of the cabana, we're looking at getting those wired for low voltage telephone service and so forth. This is actually, for a long time, we saw this just sitting as dirt. This is over the valley. That box that you're looking at is a fire pit, and then you have the seats. There is a cantilevered glass partition, and the glass is in, and it's kind of nice that it disappears. You can sit there in front of a fire on a nightly basis, looking over the valley scenery. It's actually quite spectacular at night. The jacuzzi, that's the hot tub area. It has got its patio furniture sitting. We got a couple of punch list items that we'll be dealing with in that, and that's actually complete. Actually has water in it. That is the kiddies pool. It's about 18 inches deep and loaded for patio furniture for parents and their children. We have we have 2 cabanas that we're going in here, possibly 6 cabanas for this area. That's looking back at our pool bar. The exterior scope has been completed. We're actually putting in the final lighting of that pool bar. We have granite countertops that are going to move in, a little bit of trim, and that seals up the exterior, and we're starting to focus. If you guys remember, you go to the next picture. But around the Edge restaurant, it has been cleaned up. We have completed the drywall in the Edge restaurant. The stainless steel has been placed within the kitchen, and we're focusing our attention on that, if you can believe it. Actually on finishes now inside the Edge restaurant. It is caught up to the hotel, and we will be completing that. There's some additional landscape that's going in. You can see that for a number of years, everybody had to look at our orange construction fence that's set on the hill. That fence has been removed. 90% of that fence has been removed. This is the cable fence as you walk through the end of the cliff. So in front of the pool areas, we have done this butt glazed and cantilevered safety glass. In this area, we had to consider fire trucks and ambulance access, so we needed to have something a little stronger in case one of them went off the edge, or we had to hold them back, so we had to put a cable rail in. Each one of those cables has 3,000 pounds of tension on them, pretty tight. This is the landscape that I talked to you about that continues to go in on an hourly basis now. Next, we will focus, in the next week, we will be rolling down the synthetic turf for that events lawn. You're looking at actually the aggregate base that is in the process of being compacted. By the end of next week, I was telling everybody I expect to see green. Now we're at the spa suites. Exterior paint is 100% complete. Stone finish on the building proper and the spa suites division walls has been complete. We'll start focusing on landscape here shortly. If you look at this photograph, the trellis has been complete, and what you're looking at to the lower left-hand corner of this photo is the individual hot tubs with the exterior stone going on. Next week, pending one fence installation, we will put the plaster in these, and they will be ready for water. This is the spa. If anybody looks at this, these are the on the back side, third level of the spa suites. There is 4 units that have private walk-off patios. The circular element that you see to the center of the image towards the ladder bat, that is a private fire pit. Each one of these has that. To the right-hand side, you're looking at their private hot tub, and you can see the finish. We've continued the natural finishes. You're looking at a Camago stone, 3/4-inch stone that has been placed throughout their patio. Now we're starting to focus on landscape in all 4 of these. That's the asphalt I was talking about. That's the only asphalt we have. You can see we got the color coat on the masonry walls that you've seen out there. We're ready for landscape and final paint and landscape in this area now that the asphalt's been set. Not a very good shot. This is actually the spa building where I was telling you we've actually completed all the wall covering in the spa. I have almost 1,000 yards of this material. It is on the women's side. It is an embossed floral pattern that runs through the entire women's locker. That is our water feature. As you walk into the entrance, there used to be a hole in the wall. We've actually got a cascading water feature. It stands about 12 feet tall. This is actually ready for the faux alligator skin panels to be placed. We expect to start those in the next week.
John, hold on just one second. For the individual in the back that's taking pictures, we don't allow flash photography in here. Go ahead.
Okay. The wall covering you're looking at here is actually the men's side. That has now been completed as well. So a little bit bolder pattern, neutral tones. And when you walk into the men's side for services, this is what you'll be looking at, in addition to stone floors, carpeted floors, wood floors. We actually just installed our first 1,000 square feet of natural hickory in the retail area. This is the men's quiet lounge. It is a wall covering meant to look like, it's got a gold fleck in it. It's actually pretty nice when you're in there, pretty tranquil. Women's side has a circular pattern that has a metallic or almost a pearlescent shift to it. It's actually pretty nice. Again, men's side. That is actually the lobby desk. The millwork was just installed last night, and the stone is expected to be the finished milling on the stone and cutting and gluing on the stone is expected to complete next week. So next week we'll actually be putting all that. Everything that you see in wood, or actually the raw plywood, actually gets a natural stone placed on top of it, and that'll start next week. That is the retail center where you're looking at the hickory floors that were placed. This is actually back to the women's side. There is a, this is the entrance to the full-service hair salon that'll be placed in the spa facility. This is the wall covering I was telling you about. You can't really pick it up on the photograph, but every one of those diagonal patterns is this pearlescent finish. That's it.
Okay, John, it's coming along. It sure has changed a lot over the last few weeks. So look forward to your next report.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for coming.
Thank you, John.
Okay, our next presentation today will be by the city's Emergency Preparedness Commission, and we welcome you all here today. The commission was created to reach out to the community about emergency preparedness. This year, the commission came up with a visionary and unique way to spread the word to our residents and others by sponsoring an event called Race to Be Ready. The race is a combination of a walk-run event followed by an emergency preparedness expo including vendors and demonstrations and techniques and various practices that can help save lives. The event will be held at the Rancho Mirage High School on Sunday, March 30th, starting at 8 a.m. Here to tell you more about the event are the Commission Chair, Marcia Stein, and several of our commissioners. Marcia, if you'd like to come forward and tell us more about the event. It's nice to have you here today.
Thank you, Richard. It's really good to be here. Thank you, and welcome. It's good to be here with all of you. I just want to say I am thrilled with this commission. We now have 15 commissioners. I think it's the largest commission. It's definitely the most active commission, and it's a year-round job for us. You know, it would be nice if we could do a couple things and then be done, but as you know, emergency preparedness means emergencies, which can happen at any time. So I am thrilled to be working with people who are so dedicated to the work, and particularly, many of you know we have the forum on March 4th, and we'll have that again this year, but what we're talking about today is, I think, really creative. It's going to be incredibly important for our residents, but it's also open to everyone in the Coachella Valley. So kudos to Rancho Mirage for supporting us in this venture. I have to say, in going out to businesses, which we do, they have been so complimentary about the work that we're doing, not just about the race, but in terms of making sure that they're prepared, as well as working with homeowners associations. Enough about that. I want to just introduce our director, and Dr. Paul Kopsky is the medical director for USA Track and Field for Southern California. We are so delighted to have him so involved in this, and it's becoming a full-time venture for he and his lovely wife, Megan, who will be his co-director, but also she's in charge of the expo, which is a really big part of this. So it's not just a race or a walk. The expo is really a critical part. So for everyone here and people who are going to be watching this, if you don't want to race or walk, that's okay. You can come to the expo, and that's going to be incredible, and I'll let them tell you more about it. So Dr. Paul Kopsky and Megan, would you come forward?
Good afternoon, and thank you for having us today. Interestingly enough, as I started to put together this power presentation today, or to present today, I was at home on Friday, and...
Excuse me, Megan, can we please not have flash photography during the council meetings? Thank you. Sorry about that.
Excuse me, sorry.
Okay, if you'd go ahead.
As I was putting together the presentation on Friday, I happened to end up in the middle of a situation where it took an emergency responder. I heard a loud noise, and outside my house ended up with a fire hydrant that was sheared off by a car. And I was the first responder. So as you do listen to us today, remember it could be your daughter, it could be your mother, it could be your sister, it could be your aunt in the car underneath that. And it's important that we all know how to deal with this. So it becomes an emergency situation every day that we look at. So as I go forward today in presenting, the Emergency Preparedness Commission was set up to be able to respond and help our residents deal with and have knowledge of what to do during earthquakes, floods, fires, and any type of man-made or natural disaster. The pictures that we have taken here on the board are all emergency disasters, emergency situations that have happened here in the Coachella Valley. CERT is a vehicle that was created to train everyday citizens in how to prepare for emergencies. So CERT is the vehicle that allows us to be able to have the knowledge to go in and make a difference. Rancho Mirage allows its residents to take CERT training, and CERT is very important. The forum educates us on emergency preparedness, but what the city was missing was the implementation, where we take the knowledge and we learn how to use it. We see it in use. We become accustomed with the people as they are dressed in the response uniforms and how to deal with the situations. 90% of training is done through races. They go out and they work the Boston marathons, they work the LA marathons, they work the 5Ks, and they work the 10Ks. So when we were trying to figure out how we could better prepare Rancho Mirage for its emergencies, we came up with the idea of Race to Be Ready. And I would like to turn it over to my husband, Dr. Paul, now.
Good afternoon, city staff, council members. I do want to recognize the other commissioners that are here today, because this is definitely a team event, and there's no way we would be able to do this without the team support from you and the team support that we're getting from the commission. Would you mind standing just so that we could see who these terrific people are? We really appreciate everything you've done to help us, and we look forward to the big day coming up. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Virtue, can you come up to the microphone, please? Thank you.
In going to the different businesses and talking to them about this event, they've all been very, very welcoming. And the one thing that the council should be happy about is that they've all said what a business-friendly community the city of Rancho Mirage is. So you're to be applauded for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul, you want to continue?
Thank you. Okay, so we are well on our way. I just wanted to let you know I was involved with the mayor's race in Palm Springs over the weekend, and I was able to meet with the mayor and get his unconditional endorsement for our event. He put us on their wellness Facebook. He sent out an e-blast to all the entrants that they've had in their race over the years. And he even committed to putting a team of city people together to participate in the event. So I do want to take this time to encourage our city staff members to hopefully come together with a team of 5 to participate in our event as well. I would also say that we're looking to still encourage the Sheriff's Department to come forth with their bomb sniffing dogs, and I will be reaching out to the other police departments to recruit them as well. We know that there's a big running race that is only a competition between police departments, and that'll be the Baker to Vegas event that'll be in April. So all these police departments have teams of athletes already getting ready to do that event. So I'm looking to have them all bring forth some of their elite athletes to show off at our event as well. So in looking at the slide here, you can see that we not only will be having the running, walking part of this event, but the expo will really trump the event. This is definitely a unique opportunity to bring people to the expo who don't even have to be involved with the actual physical aspect of the event. The other really unique situation here is, other than the Olympics, it's pretty rare to start and finish a race inside a stadium. So this is really going to be a special experience for people to have, and for their family members to come and to be able to witness, a significant accomplishment. Because being ready to tackle an emergency event is being fit enough to be able to sustain yourself. We know from what we've heard from the Red Cross that if a major event, and when it does happen out here, we will potentially be isolated as individuals for up to 2 weeks. So being able to sustain yourself is being able to be healthy enough. So that's why this event will really have the aspect of self-dependency as the #1 priority. But as we all know, learning from the people who have the experience is really empowering. So this is where we're really going to help our citizens, our tourists and visitors to really not only have this education to handle a situation that might happen here, but like we saw this past summer up in Canada, they were really deluged with a tremendous amount of flooding. And the types of information that we'll disseminate here is going to be the information that these people will be able to utilize even in their own home, not in this part of the country. So you can see up above that we've been able to encourage over 200 students in Rancho Mirage to participate in this artwork that's being displayed for not only the shirts but for our awards. And we must admit that this is really heartwarming, and the types of thoughts that come out of young people's minds are really moving, and I'm really potentially more excited about the involvement of the younger part of this population, because we know that they're going to take those messages home, and the parents will definitely have a reason to be a part of this, especially when their children are so motivated. We can see here that probably the biggest draw in this event is going to be this earthquake trailer. It is an experience that most of us will have never had, because most of us, as we know, have not been in an earthquake above probably a 7.0. So to get in that trailer and to experience an 8.0 is going to be a one-of-a-kind opportunity, but it is something that will potentially duplicate what will happen eventually here. So I'm encouraging all of you to hopefully be in that trailer, and maybe we'll even get some of the other members of other cities to participate. The other big draw is going to be this smoke trailer. In fact, the smoke trailer and the earthquake trailer have never been at the same event simultaneously. So this trailer will show not only how to escape a fire in a structure, but it's going to provide the prevention aspects of a fire. So the smoke trailer itself will again be almost as popular as that earthquake trailer, but again, these are two really critical types of emergencies that we really want to drive home that message. And this is why we really reached out to these companies and really pressed them to come to our event. So we're really excited that we've been able to bring this one-of-a-kind opportunity to this city. So I do thank you again for all the support that you have committed to us and the event. The Rancho Mirage Fire Department will be having an off-site location for their services that day. They will be at our event, so if there is an emergency, they will have to leave, but they will be, having their structure fighting automobiles there. The Lifestream mobile will be there as well. We will be using this function as a potential to draw people to the event to actually donate blood, and the blood will be earmarked to stay to residents and individuals who are in Coachella Valley. The Agua Caliente Casino will be donating their emergency operations center to our event as well. This is another vehicle that has not been in the public eyes this way. So again, we thank the casino for this opportunity. They will again be bringing their CERT vehicle, which the city co-owns with them, and we are looking forward to their help lining our cores and again putting on these displays of how to extract people from structures and show how even a child could move a building off of an individual. So this is a reflection of our efforts. Our great IT person, Michael Johnson, put this together for us. We are really excited to have a really high-class flyer that is out promoting our event. We will be creating a new flyer within the next week that will be representing all of the sponsors that we have to date. We have accrued close to $15,000, so we are pretty much at the halfway mark, and luckily we won't have most of our expenses come due until the event date itself. So we're really looking very solvent, and I'm happy to say we should not be in front of you looking for any more donations. So thanks again for all your support. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you around town at the forum. We'll be definitely there in high numbers. And again, let's just look to continue to push this message. We are going to be probably in the studio of KMIR in the next week or two. We'll be doing an in-studio interview there, probably with Mayor Pro Tem Iris Smotrich, and with Marcia, Megan, and myself. And we continue to generate interest from the newspaper. So I know that we'll continue to work this effort as a team. Probably in the last month, we'll be looking at some TV ads and some paper ads through the Desert Sun. So look for us to be all over town and all over the valley. Thanks again.
Doctor, the date again?
March 30th this year.
And how can people viewing the program today get in contact with you and find out more about the event?
www.racetobeready.com.
Again, that's
www.racetobeready.com.
Okay.
And I would just like to close with one other thing. The first year, we do not always make money. We will be covering our expenses. The race itself has the ability to generate income, which we have set up a fund that will stay in the Emergency Preparedness Commission's account. We are hoping that this race through the years is actually able to produce enough money to be able to add to the equipment that the city may need for emergency preparedness, to possibly be funding the bags that Mayor Pro Tem Iris had wanted to be giving to every resident, to be able to go and put back into our community. So we may not be able to do a lot this year, but we are looking to be able to have this be an event that not only educates, but gives back to the Emergency Preparedness Commission and citizens through preparing. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for being here today.
Just one last thing. Thank you both for that. I would like all my commissioners, please, to stand and just, please stand, everyone. And we have one back there, too. Why don't you come up in front? Ron, come on up in front. So, do you all just come up real quick? Just come up, not to speak, but just come up and introduce yourselves quickly. They all have had such an important role.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Johnson. I think most of you know me.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'm Roger Barry, and I'm working on the forum and also on the Homeowners Association radio program. And I'd like to just stress one thing, having been on the commission probably longer than the other members, is that we've done activities in the past and we've had ebb and flows of excitement. But this Race to Be Ready is the catalytic event, really, for this commission, probably since its inception. And you heard Megan talk about the new group of people that are going to come, but it gets the CERT people that we've been paying to train, it gets them involved. That's such a critical thing for this community to actually get to action on these things. You also heard Dr. Paul say that children have gotten involved. We have not been able to expand in the past to reach out to all these new groups. So this expo and this event is far and away the most exciting thing the commission's ever undertaken.
Hi, I'm Claudia Fawcett, and I'm a commissioner of the Rancho Mirage Commission.
Hi, everybody. I'm Charles Townsend, and I'm very happy to be a part of this aggressive and wonderful committee of very dedicated people. Very inspired by their energy and to be included in part of this wonderful, not only a race, but a great event for this city and for Coachella Valley. Also, we are bringing in the director of one of the local TV stations to be given this presentation, so that they hopefully will be a sole sponsor of this event. So we're looking forward to that too. Thank you for your time.
My name is Joyce Virtue, and I'm the new kid on the block on the Emergency Preparedness Commission. And I want to tell you, it really is an incredible commission. I'm very appreciative to be on it. My applause to all of you.
Hello, and I'm Linda Holtzman, and I'm on the commission as well, and I'm working with the homeowners associations throughout our city.
I'm Ron Shara. I'm working on a project involving CERT with the seniors in the high schools. I'm going to be back because we're going to need some money.
We thank you all for being here today and for your dedication to the Emergency Preparedness Commission.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we'll now
Mr.
go
Mayor.
on to another presentation. Oh,
Mr.
I'm
Mayor.
sorry.
That's okay. No, I just wanted to also extend my thanks not only to the whole commission, but also to Britt Wilson, who's behind the scenes, and he is our staff liaison, and he has done incredible work helping everyone anywhere they need his assistance, and he has stepped up to the bat and just given his great advice, and whenever we need him, there he is. So thank you again, Britt. We couldn't do it without you.
Okay, at this time, we'll now move on to give you some information about the Coachella Valley Mosquito and Vector Control Department. We're going to hear today regarding the efforts to reduce the mosquito population from the environment. And today we have biologist Jennifer Henke today, and we have Charles Rich, Rancho Mirage's representative on the Mosquito Abatement Board, to introduce our guest. Charles?
Thank you. Mayor Charles Rich, resident Rancho Mirage.
Well, what was that, Charlie?
Name, address, and serial number.
Okay.
Mayor Kite, Pro Tem Mayor Smotrich, members of the council, and clerk and staff. I'm here. I'd like to fill you in some particulars on the doings of the Vector Control Board. Some of you call it the Bug Board, but we won't talk about that. Vector Control Board has been very blessed to have Jennifer Henke, who's our environmental biologist the last 2 years. She's done an outstanding job, and I've asked her to give you some ideas of what we're doing, how we're doing it, and what's down the road as far as vector control, particularly with the mosquitoes, because we have had very few instances of West Nile virus in this area, but we've had a lot of trouble with the mosquitoes. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have a lot of pools and ponds and people that live here very half the year or whatever it might be during the summer, which is the infestation time, not around. So Jennifer Henke, been with us for about 2 years as the environmental biologist, and she's done an outstanding job, and she's got some details to fill you in. Jennifer?
Thank you so much, Charlie, and also with us today is Jill Oviatt. She's our public information manager. I am going to talk to you today about what it is that we do and how we can work with the City of Rancho Mirage to protect the residents from West Nile virus, and that's particularly dealing with the stormwater structures because they can breed mosquitoes. And so going through today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it is that we do, how the stormwater structures breed mosquitoes, and what we're going to be able to do together. And so to remind you of what a mosquito life cycle looks like, maybe it's been a while since you've had biology. It's very similar to a butterfly life cycle. We have eggs, in this case they're laid on the water's surface. They hatch out into a caterpillar stage, which lives as a larva in the water. They transform into pupa, which is kind of the chrysalis stage of the butterfly, which also lives in the water. And then they emerge as adults and they fly around. And it's those female adults that are coming around and biting us. On a regular basis, our technicians are going out and looking at sites that look like this or like this, and they stick in their dipper to look and see whether or not there are mosquitoes. If they don't find any mosquitoes, then they record into their tough books, their computers, to say that they made an inspection and that they're going to come back to it the next time that they need to. If they do find mosquitoes, then they treat it with a particular product, they record that into their computers, and they also schedule it for a visit. Now, our disease surveillance works a little bit differently. We capture the adult mosquitoes in that case. And so we made about 40,000 of those inspections last year and about 10,000 chemical treatments. But we still caught 500,000 adult mosquitoes using traps like the ones on the screen. Not every mosquito is able to actually carry the virus, so we bring all those mosquitoes back to the lab. We sort them out by species and by sex because we really care about the females, and we count them. We grind them up, and then we test them for virus. If we find that we do have virus, that's when you start to see public releases from our press. And we also start doing those adult control measures, either barrier spraying the vegetation to control adult mosquitoes, or the truck-mounted ULV with the fog that comes behind the truck, depending on what we need to do to protect the residents. So if I could get rid of all the standing water that's in the valley, I would be rid of mosquitoes. And when I say standing water, this is what people usually think of. Water that you can see that's out in the street, or maybe you even think of a foreclosed home with a pool that's in the backyard that's no longer functioning properly. And you might be surprised to know that this kind of water doesn't worry me. This doesn't worry me because our residents are very good at calling in this kind of water. They see it, they know it can be a problem, they let us know about it. Even the swimming pools, we do flyovers to check and see whether or not we have swimming pools that might be green, and we're able to go out and see those. The water that scares me is the hidden water that sits in our stormwater structures. And the water gets there from overwatering from our residents. They have a broken sprinkler that flows down into the street, and it sits at the bottom of that stormwater structure. Or the stormwater structure is not being maintained. Now, the city of Rancho Mirage does a great job with the ones that they own, and the Public Works Department does a really good job of maintaining those. But unfortunately, we have a number of HOAs in the area which don't do such a good job of maintaining their structures that are on their property. Finally, there are some poor design issues, and the Public Works Department is sometimes seen as being a bit persnickety of trying to make sure that they're getting in the stormwater structures that they need to maintain their water quality. They're also putting in design structure elements that we need to have mosquitoes not breed in those. And so even though it may be hard for developers sometimes, we're really appreciative of the good work that the Public Works Department does in this area because it helps us immensely. So what are the things that we can do going forward? Well, we can educate the residents about overwatering and how to reduce standing water in their area. We can work together on maintenance of some of these problem sites, and we've been working with the Public Works and will continue to do so. In some of our other cities, we're looking at installing some retrofits and testing out how they prevent access from the mosquitoes laying eggs. And we can also use good design principles to prevent problems. And by this, I don't mean just the stormwater structures themselves, but I would love to get away from having grass around any of our stormwater structures. As you can see in the top picture, that grass is right around that structure. Water's going to enter it because we want to keep that grass looking green and beautiful. So if we can move to desert landscaping in a lot of those areas and the homeowners associations move that way, it will help us out quite a bit in reducing the mosquito population. And I believe that if we work on these things together, we can move from the picture on the left where we have water in it to the picture on the right of a dry stormwater structure, and we can fight the bite together. Thank you so much for your attention. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you for coming today. Very insightful. Any questions? Could you just briefly touch on the fire ant situation as it now exists? Are we going into a season right now on the fire ants?
So we do also do fire ant treatments, and we're doing them throughout the valley. Our area is still one of the restricted areas. It is a little bit less active during the winter time because they don't like the cold weather. It's cold for an insect right now. Oh, not today, but earlier this week. We're about to hit another peak again. And so again, homeowners that are finding that in their yard, we're happy to have them call us and schedule those appointments. We do work with the golf courses and the HOAs in the area. We do need for the water to be turned off because the product doesn't get picked up by the ants if the water's on. It'll wash off the oils that are on the bait. The ants take the product back to their nests, and that's where it really does the work. So if we have the water on, it doesn't work the way that it's supposed to, and that's why you might have some residents that are upset when we say we can't treat if the sprinklers are on. So we really do need that on. But you're right, we're moving into that season very quickly.
And the number for a contact for the residents?
Sure, it was on the last slide, but it is 760-342-8287. And you can also look at our website, which is www.cvmvcd.org.
Okay.
Just call
Steve,
me.
Did you have a comment?
Or call Steve.
I was just like to mention that it was because of Data Hobart's constant complaining about the red fire ants on the golf courses is one of the reasons why vector control has made that a priority. And we do have agreements with a number of golf courses, I think most of them, if not all of Rancho Mirage, to go out there and get rid of them. And we also, every year, we also obtain a court order that allows us to go in and inspect properties and to actually conduct abatement. That's a standing court order from April to October, I think that's when it is. And so we get that every year. So that's really helped. It helped in everybody's efforts to control mosquitoes.
If I could add, excuse me, one point. You mentioned turning off the water. I've called the Vector Control District a good number of times because of our dogs. Our dogs wandering around the yard and running and doing this and that. And I think people should be aware of what it looks like to have an infestation of red imported fire ants. And it's like a little mound of very pure-looking sand where you don't see any ants on it until you get up next to it and you stomp your foot down on the ground near it. Then those ants come flying up. A lot of times the dogs disrupting a mound will get a dog infected, and that's what first started me is my beagle some years ago had a bite, and it was painful for him, lasting at least a week of pain. And I would like people to know that simply by calling the Vector Control District, tell them what your issue is. We've got red imported fire ants. They'll only tell you to turn off your water for 1 day. It's not a long period of time. And then after they've done the, after they've done the treatment, leave it off for the remainder of that day, and you can have it back on the next day. So it doesn't hurt any of your plants or grass or things of that nature. And they get out there very quickly, and they're very efficient. And on behalf of all of us who do use your service, thank you very much, because it does save our pets a great deal of danger. Thanks.
Not just your pets, but you as well.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I also found out about a really unique service that you guys offer that I think is amazing, and that is for people who have ponds. A lot of people have water features and that sort of thing, and you guys have fish that are free that you can come and either get, and I think sometimes you even deliver them, I think. And I forget what they're called, but maybe you could talk a little bit about what that is and how that works, because that's kind of a neat aspect of your services.
Well, fortunately enough, it's an easy name to remember. They are the mosquito fish. And they're the mosquito fish because they have little upturned mouths. They like to feed at the top of the water surface where the mosquitoes live. We do rear them on property, and we have normally we have about 200,000 fish that are produced every year. We deliver them to residents that ask for them. We also go out and do inspections under the court order that Stephen was telling you about, depending on what's needed. If you don't want us to come to your property or you're in our area, you can call and we'll give them to you, and you can take them home with you that day as well. They are free, and they will be a good thing if maybe your pond's a little greener than you'd like for it to be.
I had just one little update about I'm putting together our annual report right now. So I happen to know we've had more than 2,000 fire ant calls this year that we went and treated. And also we covered 18,777 acres in the valley of fire ant treatment. So a very specific update about the fire ants.
So I remember seeing the map in the past that showed the red areas in Rancho Mirage where we had a lot of fire ants. That seems to be disappearing a lot. I guess it's because of the good work you guys do, but also because our residents get you out there in time to keep it from spreading too much. So Rancho Mirage, would you consider is a lot better off than it was a few years ago? No, yes.
Well, no, I'm sorry. I'm looking hesitant because I've only been there 2 years, so it's trying to remember what it looked like 2 years ago. I think as an overall picture, we've been working a lot harder on explaining why we need some of those things. I do think that our name has gotten out there and the residents are calling us a lot more, which is very helpful.
Yeah.
It's really hard to control something when we don't know exactly where it is. And so Rancho Mirage residents have done a great job of picking up the phone, and we hope that they will continue to do so.
Well, we appreciate the work that you do for our residents, and hopefully they'll take advantage of your service and take care of the mosquitoes and the fire ants.
And they've done all this great service and increased their level of services without increasing the assessment that was last approved by the voters many years ago.
Right. Okay. Thanks again for coming today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we have one more presentation, and I'll call on Councilman Ted Weil, who would introduce our next speaker. Ted?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As part of our ongoing program of introducing people from the healthcare industry, we have a wonderful relationship with one of our most valuable assets in Rancho Mirage, and that's the Eisenhower Medical Center. And of course, health is being displayed and publicized very much this week with the start of the Humana golf tournament and President Clinton being in town. I'd like to introduce Cindy Olson. Cindy's a registered nurse, and you come on down, Cindy. She's Director of Cardiac Services, and she's going to be talking about the 11th Annual Community Heart and Stroke Conference. Cindy has been with Eisenhower for 6.5 years, formerly at Irvine Regional Medical Center, and Director of Surgical Services there. She's been a registered nurse for 27 years, and in the information that was sent to me, it's important that she said, "I just love Eisenhower Medical Center." So Cindy, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, and thank you all so much for letting me be here today to address you. I've worked with Scott Hines before in a diabetes program a couple years ago and last year as well. So I am Director of Cardiac Services. I think I have the best position and the best role at the medical center. I get to oversee all aspects of cardiac care, from the time a patient comes to the emergency room, through non-invasive treatment where they might have an EKG or an echo, onto the cardiac cath lab where we might stop the heart attack. If they need a pacemaker, we oversee the pacemaker, and then treatment areas, anything to do with cardiac, onto cardiac rehab, pulmonary rehab, heart failure, and a diabetes clinic. Just recently, Mr. Surfling asked that I oversee the Ranker Suite, so our VIP pavilion. I have that now, and that's another lovely addition. So the reason I'm here is we have February 1st, which is a Saturday, our 11th Annual Community Heart Conference. This year we'd elected to combine cardiac and stroke. It's a day of learning. It's a day of promoting wellness and healthy choices. And we have 7 physician speakers who will be presenting information, as well as different departments from the medical center. We'll be doing some screening and just a day of health and wellness. I thought that it would be really fun this year. We're going to have a big presentation with our food services, doing healthy choice food demonstrations and distributing that out to the attendees. On a good year, and depending upon what we compete against, we've had as high as 700 community members in attendance. On a year where it was very windy, and I think that we chose right around the golf tournament, we had 350 in attendance. So we don't know what we'll have. It is free. It is open to all community members of Coachella Valley. We are thrilled that we're in Rancho Mirage. We love our relationship between Eisenhower and the city. And I have some of the speakers will be Dr. Barry Hackshaw, who's a resident. We have Dr. Frutkan, one of our newer cardiologists, Dr. Bagari, also a new one. I don't know if you know this, but we have a new cardiothoracic surgeon in town, and it's a she. She's joined Dr. Jody Wilson, and her name is Seemal Mumtaz. She's a tiny little lady, and she'll be with us doing a lecture on women in cardiology and cardiac treatment for women. We also have Dr. Weinstein, who's one of our acute rehab physicians, who helps with the care of rehabbing patients after they've had an event. And then Dr. Solari, who's a neurologist. So during this day, we hope to prepare community members signs and symptoms, wellness, healthy choices you can make to prevent it. But in the event you have an event, what it's going to feel like, what it's going to look like, how we treat you all the way through your discharge of the hospital, and how we're a resource for you in the community with the services at Eisenhower. And I thank you so much. Any questions?
Thank you very much for coming today, and we look forward to the event.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Now I'd like to move on to non-agenda public comments, which is the time when we let all of you in the audience speak on any item that's not on the agenda. And you can take up to 3 minutes. And if I don't think, we do have a request for a speaker. And if you haven't filled out one of these forms yet and you would like to speak, we do have them in the back, and you can give them to the city clerk. So we do have a request from Noella Larry. And if you could give your name and address.
By the way, you pronounced it very well. That's
well, thank you.
A toughie. My name is Noella Larry. I live at 31 Durango Circle in Rancho Mirage in the Rancho Las Palmas Country Club. And I'm going to bring up an item that is kind of a couple months old, but you'll remember it as soon as I mention it. It's about dog parks. Our city doesn't have a dog park, which I know when you were doing the Whitewater review, you had it possibly that you were going to go to a dog park or have a dog park. And that was dropped off the list for bocce ball or something. But our city has a lot of country clubs, which I'm sure if you've ever lived in any, you don't have much of a yard. And although the country clubs have a lot of area to walk a dog, they like to be free. And so our city doesn't have any. All the other cities in Coachella Valley, except Cathedral City, do have dog parks. Palm Desert has, I think, 3. The rest of them are about 1 or 2. And the Palm Desert has one off of College, off of Portola, called a University Park, which is wonderful. It's about 2.5 acres. It was originally built per the design of the developer, who wanted to try or experiment with a housing development with a lot of parks. And there's, I think, 3 different parks there for people to go have picnics and children to play, and a lot of area of parks, including this dog park. But it only has 13 spaces to park, and it's a 2.5 acre area with side for dogs that are large and the ones that are under 26 pounds. So I've been going to that once I discovered it, and there's a lot of people that attend it who are out-of-state visitors, and they love the park, and the word is spread so much that there's a lot of people with a lot of animals there. And my little dog, Charlie, loves to go. All I do is mention the dog park, and he's nuts. And the first thing he does is run in there because he can't run anywhere else freely. And he goes and greets all the dogs, and all the dogs greet each other. And it's just like watching your grandkids probably play with a bunch of kids at the park. So it's really nice. And because we have hotels here and the country clubs, we don't have our own dog park. So I was wondering if maybe, for what reason, I don't know, but could you think about it again, add it to your discussions, and see if you could find a nice site for us. The University Park that I mentioned, one of the problems is they only have spaces for 13 cars to park, and that was deliberate on the builder's part because he wanted that for the community that is in there and felt that most homeowners would walk to the park, and there wouldn't need to be much parking space. So most of the people that go there park on the street all around. Well, it hasn't run very well with the bikers and et cetera, so they put up signs that you can't park there with fines, which they've been nice enough not to push the fines because the development of the houses hasn't been completed. Well, I called today and I spoke to Randy Biner, who gave me a lot of information, said that he's also talked, I guess, to someone on the council or in the planning divisions about the cost to what they spent and various things on their park. So I know that, you guys did look into maybe doing that. But I'd like to see if we could possibly bring that back on the agendas because there isn't any place close by. And they consider that a public park, but it's it's not a regional park as much as it is a park within the community. For most parks and cities are within 1 mile is their territory, so to speak. So they are looking at expanding this Freedom Park that's over off of Country Club, off of Oasis and Liberty. It's kind of a small little postage stamp right now, but they're pouring more concrete or whatever. And they plan to expand it, but that's in Palm Desert, and that's farther up the boulevard for me. So I was just wondering if you had any intentions on bringing that back for review.
Well, we appreciate your comments, and we did have interest in putting a dog park in the Whitewater Park renovation. We just felt at this time wasn't really enough space in the right location for the park. The council is committed to finding a space for a dog park, and we just have to find the right location, and I think we will, over a period of time, be able to provide that kind of service to our residents.
Well,
in the meantime, there are a lot of other good dog parks out there. We have visited a lot of them and picked out what we thought were the best attributes of each park. So we have a lot of information. We spent a lot of time looking at the various alternatives. And as people like yourself continue to come to us and express your need for a park like that, I'm sure we'll continue to look for the right location.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for coming today. Is there anybody else who would like to speak today on an item that's not on the agenda? Okay, thank you, and we'll now move to City Council comments and board comments, and I'll start with Ted.
Yes, public safety and police protection is of vital importance to our residents. It's the duty of the City Council to support this activity, and I feel personally passionate about this responsibility. Yesterday, I attended the Cove Commission, where I am a board member, along with Mayor Pro Tem Iris Smotrich. The commission represents the cities of Rancho Mirage, Palm Desert, and Indian Wells. The commission is a long-standing, cooperative commission that oversees the law enforcement and fire service contracts for these communities. At yesterday's meeting, Captain Vest gave an update on law enforcement activities. That is why I invited him here today. Some have suggested that the crime rate in Rancho Mirage has increased. Captain Vest will share those statistics with you and show that, in fact, it's just the opposite. Captain Vest, who's walking down here now, actually started his career in law enforcement as a beat cop in Rancho Mirage in the early 1980s. I assume you wore out a few pair of shoes during that time. He's here today as the police chief for the 3 cities. And Captain Vest, thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
Honorable Council, Mayor, members of the Council, appreciate the opportunity to come in and give you an update on, as we all know, it's a new year. So we've closed out last year's calls, even though some investigations obviously are still underway. So the percentages I'm going to give you now are preliminary because many cases are still open, and they'll continue to get updated throughout the year, with the final numbers coming out roughly in August, September, when the FBI releases the uniform crime rate. So the good news, as Councilman Wheel mentioned, was that crime is down. We had a very good year in Rancho Mirage, and I want to say that Rancho Mirage led all 3 cities in the decrease in one of my pet crimes that has been a focus since I've been back in the Valley, and that's burglary. As we all know, Rancho Mirage had a rough year last year. We had a couple serial burglars in different groups that were specifically targeting Rancho Mirage, but those individuals have been apprehended, and as a result, the burglary rate decreased last year by more than 44%. Since the year's closed, obviously, hopefully that percentage will increase a bit, but it's definitely not going to go up. Go down. So that's very exciting. We also, unfortunately, did see a slight increase in vehicle burglaries. That continues to be one of the other problems that we're constantly fighting. Any location in Rancho Mirage where there's a large number of vehicles that get parked for extended periods of time, the river, Rancho 16, any area where businesses or vehicles are there for long periods of time, we do continue to have incidents where the vehicles are broken into. So we're continuing to combat that in different ways. We have had individual rings that have hit specific types of vehicles, so we're continuing to focus on those. We've developed different programs to address that. So hopefully that increase, although slight, will reverse for next year. Overall, the total decrease in crime for Rancho Mirage is looking to be in the neighborhood of 8% from the previous year in all categories overall. And the total number of calls for service that we had last year decreased by more than 1,000 from the previous year. And the total number of calls that we respond to on a yearly basis is in the 9,000 range. So to have 1,000 decrease is a pretty substantial decrease overall. So all in all, it was a very, very good year for all three cities, but it was spectacular for Rancho Mirage. So I'm very pleased to give you an update on that.
Glad to hear that news. Spectacular, huh?
Yes, it was very good. And I want to commend the council and actually all three cities. The Cove Commission is great, as you all are aware. It allows all three cities to share fire resources and also share some positions within my command that individually none of the cities could really justify having, but collectively it allows a lot of cooperation and a lot of bang for your buck, so to speak. So I really do appreciate that. Specifically the burglary suppression unit, the crime analyst, and now the new forensic tech. So all three of those are key in our never-ending fight against property crimes. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you for being here today.
You're welcome.
I had a quick question, Mayor,
yes,
while he's here. There has been a news report recently on the Desert Sun that some of the intersections in our city have actually been kind of labeled the most dangerous intersections in the Coachella Valley. I'm thinking specifically of Frank Sinatra and Bob Hope. And obviously that has us concerned. And there's been some pretty nasty accidents, even on Highway 111 in Rancho Mirage. And we've done a lot of analysis on speed limits, and our hands are tied to some extent simply because of the way the state law is written. But can you give some insight into how we might address this to make sure that these areas that have seemingly had a high frequency of accidents can potentially be mitigated?
Well, that's actually something we look at frequently in traffic. We do have a collision program that we use to analyze all the traffic collisions and incidents, generates reports as far as top 10 locations by any date range that we specify. So that is something the traffic unit is constantly looking at, and we're deploying in response to that. I was surprised to see that article in the Desert Sun, and in my opinion, I think the total number of collisions was 8 for a 365 year. I'll take 8 at any intersection any given time if that's the total for the year, because that's less than 1 per month. So I've worked with Bruce for years, and I will say that Rancho Mirage has some of the best roads, best designs, best everything put in as far as the focus on traffic safety, and those results are impressive. So maybe Bruce would like to weigh in on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to Colin wrote that article, and he did attend our meeting when we had that with the Traffic Safety Commission, and that was 5 years worth of data that I provided. So it really didn't say that was over a 5-year period, but the majority of the collisions are rear-end collisions, typically related to speed, typically following too closely. People are typically on their cell phones. A lot of the accidents occurred in the morning hours, people going to work, could be putting on makeup, a bunch of things are going on. So it really wasn't, it just happened to be the top intersection in our city, but we're going to be bringing back to the Traffic Safety Commission our accident rates based on the statewide average of accidents per million vehicle miles traveled and the national average, and we're going to be far below, I can guarantee you, any of those averages. So we're going to bring that back to the next Traffic Safety Commission meeting.
Great. Thanks, Bruce.
And sir, regarding the speed limits, that is an issue. But it's kind of a double-edged sword. When you improve your roadways to certain levels and you put in the necessary traffic control measures as far as medians and landscaping and go to 3 lanes, it kind of forces your hands with these new traffic surveys, because in essence it results in your speed limits going up. But the overall result is you actually have much fewer collisions, even though they may be some really bad ones, but because of a better design and better engineering. So
yeah.
and that's Rancho Mirage right there. I mean, you have some of the best roads that I've ever seen, and every road upgraded to a level that you can't even imagine.
So a victim of our own success to some
yeah,
extent.
in this regard, yes, absolutely.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Captain.
Iris, did you have a question?
Yes, okay.
Captain?
Just one quick question.
Yes.
You had mentioned, first of all, welcome. It's always nice to have you here.
Well, thank you.
And you had mentioned about us being able to obtain a forensic technician. Could you tell us a little bit about what that technician will be doing?
Oh, yes. She started in July, and what she does is she responds to any type of crime, specifically burglaries or robberies or any type of theft crime where physical evidence could be obtained. What that does is that alleviates the patrol deputy from having to attempt to collect physical evidence, generally fingerprints and photographs, which we're really not very good at. So she is an expert in that regard, has done that for many years. So she responds, takes over that, often spending several hours. We've received a lot of comments from the public about the CSI type ability now that we now have, where she spends a long period of time in collecting fingerprints, sometimes 50 or 60 at a house at a time, and then those are submitted for analysis. So it allows the officer to return to patrol immediately and allows an expert to come in and collect those items for better evidence for us.
Okay, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks again for coming today. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. Scott, did you have any further comments?
Just really quickly, I just wanted to wish all of the participants and organizers of the first ever Rancho Mirage Writers Festival good luck. It's really exciting, and I want to give a hearty congratulations to the folks who've been working on that, in particular our Library Commissioner David Bryant, who's put in a ton of time. That idea kind of manifested a while back. As you know, the city mayor always sits on the Library Foundation Commission, and this idea first came up when I was last on the commission, and we really pushed for it to make sure that we contributed financially to help that get off the ground. So just some great well wishes to the folks that are working on the Writers Festival, and know that all of us here on the council support you wholeheartedly, and look forward to this becoming an annual tradition and going and going and going from here on out. So have a great time and write some great books and poems and screenplays this week. So thank you.
Thank you. Iris, do you have a comment?
Yes, thank you. And I would just like to comment a little bit further about the Writers Festival, because I wanted to give a huge, huge thank you to not only Jamie Kabler and Susan Rosser for bringing it to our city. In fact, last year when Jamie and Susan came to Dana and myself, we thought, my gosh, what a wonderful thing, what a feather in our cap we could have here. And their big focus was going to be also on the fact that if you're familiar with some of these writers' festivals around the country, they are extremely expensive. And it was the focus of Jamie and Susan to make sure that it was going to be very budget-friendly for all of our residents. So we were thrilled with that. And the rest is history. We want to thank also David Bryant, again, also from our library, and also our senior librarian, Susan Cook. Without them, this could never have happened. And as we are speaking right now, this event is taking place over at our library. It started last night with a wonderful speaker, Scott Berg, and he spoke eloquently, and he was a charismatic speaker on Woodrow Wilson, and what an incredible president he was, and how much he contributed to our country in a very short time. And it will be ending this Saturday night with the keynote closing speaker, who will be Jackie Collins. She will be going on at 7 o'clock, and if you have some time, and I know tickets are still available, and if you're available to, help yourself to our front desk over here where you can purchase tickets. It's an incredible event that has come to our city. We are so honored to have it, and we look forward to next year and having it for many, many years to come, because it has been a spectacular experience just bringing the amount of authors to our city with such a wide variety of subject matter. So thank you again, and thank you to David, Susan, Jamie, and the other Susan. Take care for everyone, and enjoy. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you. Dana?
Excuse me. Just briefly, I'd like to say this since this is our first meeting of the year, I'd like to wish everybody Happy New Year, happy healthful New Year for you and your family. I'd like to also suggest that this is the perfect year if you've been waiting to augment your family to get a rescue dog from our local shelters. The need is acute, and the dogs are ready, waiting, and willing to move into your house.
Thank you, Dana. Just want to briefly comment on a unveiling that we had this week at Wally's Desert Turtle for the Rancho Mirage City publications. The City of Rancho Mirage residents should have received this week a packet from the city containing 2 publications. The publications are the newly formatted newsletter, formerly called MirageScape and now called RM Insider, and the other is our new yearly publication, which is called RM Magazine. Also included in the mailing to be received by the residents this week is a postage-paid returnable envelope that we hope represents what you wish to advise the council as to whether Whitewater Park should be renamed or not. So the RM Insider will be distributed 3 times a year, January, April, and October. This publication addresses all of the issues, events, and information that residents should know about in their city. RM Magazine will be published only once a year in January. This publication is dedicated to fostering pride in the city's rich history and the appreciation of our unique brand identity. RM Magazine will be published in all our resorts, or will be published in all our resorts' guest rooms, as well as given to all the new homeowners when they purchase a home in Rancho Mirage. The mailing of the publications ends a year-long effort to reformat our residential communication platforms. In addition to looking great, the new publications also read better thanks to our new partnership with Palm Springs Life magazine, who edit and publish the periodicals for us. Most of all, I'm really happy to state that the cost of the program did not impact our budget this year due to some fiscal planning of other existing expenses. Both RM Insider and RM Magazine can be found online at the city's new formatted website. In addition, interested parties can go to the homepage where there's a place to sign up for receiving this electronic version of the publications. This new component makes it easy for our seasonal residents and homeowners to keep in touch with the city and wherever they are around the world. So we're really excited about these publications. We hope you like them. We hope you read them and get back to us and let us know what you think about these 2 new publications and also the new website. So let's see, I have one more request for a comment, and that's our city manager, Randy Binder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to report on increased development activity in the city of Rancho Mirage. Just for the first 15 days of 2014, we are already at 20% of the solar panels and 20% of the single-family home permits issued in all of 2013. And 2013 was up from 2012. If we stayed on this trajectory, we'd be up 486% for the year. I think it's important that we acknowledge the increased workload on staff. All of the city's departments have experienced additional activity when development is up, and we know that new development also helps the operating revenue as well. So thank you to our hardworking staff for serving the fine city of Rancho Mirage. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Okay, we're to the approval of the minutes from the meeting of December 19th. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote. And the motion carries 5-0. Now we'll move on to the consent calendar. The consent calendar is routine in nature and usually can be approved with one blanket motion. And are there any items which the council would like to have pulled on this item? Okay, none. Turn it over to our city manager again, and here are those items that are on the consent calendar. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Today's consent calendar has 6 items on it. Item number 1 would waive the full reading of all the ordinances that are introduced pursuant to the agenda. Item number 2 on your consent calendar is second reading of an ordinance that would amend Title 17 of the Municipal Code that would allow drive-through sales for prescription pharmaceuticals as part of drugstores with a conditional use permit in the neighborhood commercial zone. That's second reading. Item number 3 on your consent calendar is a request for the 2013-2014 budget for Citizens Option for Public Safety Fund. This is the state supplemental law enforcement services account, provides funding for frontline municipal law enforcement services. And in December of 2013, the city was notified that we'll receive $100,000 for this next fiscal year. So in order to receive the funding, the council must approve an expenditure plan. So that's what this consent item is for. The $100,000 would be used for to pay for our share of a forensic technician, which we heard about earlier, community services officer, and purchase of an updated equipment called Trash Data Retrieval System, which analyzes black boxes from cars that have been in accidents. That's what that money would be used for this fiscal year. Item number 4 on your consent calendar is final acceptance of Desert Sun Ranch sewer and street improvements. This is a request for the City Council to authorize staff to record the notice of acceptance with the County Recorder's Office. This is a project that the council approved some months ago. Public improvements, street improvements in the Kirsten Road, Desert Sun Drive, and K. Ballard Drive neighborhood. The project also includes sewer mains and laterals, Kirsten Road on K. Ballard Lane, and these were partially financed by affected residents. The improvements constructed by Golden Valley Construction were within budget and have been inspected by the Public Works staff. The construction budget for this project was $648,000. The contract work was completed for a cost of $573,000 with a contingency of $31,000. So basically it came in $44,000 under budget. And Sarah just showed some of the before and after, 3 before and after pictures for the neighborhood, and you can see the nice improvements that are in the neighborhood. So congratulations to Public Works staff. Doing a good job on that. Thank you, Bill.
POs and demands.
Purchase orders and demands. The last 2 items on your agenda. We're here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay. I think all of the residents certainly that live on Desert Sun and in the area are happy with the results. This is something that the city has been working on for many years. I remember Bruce and I talking about this a few years back, and finally, after going through all the meetings and approvals and the designs, we ended up with a completed project that really is a great-looking project, and I'm sure the residents of the area appreciate what was done there. So,
Mr.
Yes.
Mayor, before you vote, I recommend that from here on we do roll call votes on the consent calendar, because under the Brown Act, this new regulation requires that all the votes of each council member be registered during the meeting. So it has to be announced who voted which way. And so I feel, based on my experience in the last other council meetings and other boards, they decided that just a roll call vote's a lot easier than having you, the mayor, direct the city clerk to register the votes the way they were voted.
So are you saying we should vote on each consent item or the
No, just the
consent
whole
item as
consent
a whole?
calendar as a
Okay.
roll call vote,
Okay.
and all other items from here on.
Okay. Okay. Any questions, comments from the city manager?
So, sorry, just to clarify, Steve, so we just don't use our electronic voting system anymore at all from here on out?
Well, you can use that, but the requirement is that we just register orally each vote as you vote. So a roll call vote. You can still use this if you like, for her records.
Well,
and for people who are watching.
It seems like a duplication.
I
of
know
that.
it is.
Okay.
I don't draft the laws.
Okay, you don't?
No, otherwise it would
Okay.
be different.
All right, well, maybe we could
going backwards,
get more
doesn't it?
clarity of that in the future, so. Okay, so how are we going to do this? Cindy, do you want to then call the name of the individual, and that they will vote then?
Yes, there's got to be a motion.
Okay. All right, so first of all, if there are no questions or comments on the consent calendar, is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on any of these items? Seeing none, could we have a motion?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second by Councilman Weil. And would you like to call roll, please, Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Hines?
Aye.
Councilmember Weil?
Yes.
Mayor Kite?
Yes.
Councilmember Hobart?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Smotrich?
Yes.
Thank
That
you.
was easy.
Okay, and the motion carries 5-0. And before we recess to close session, I'd like to have the city attorney read those items that we will be covering today in closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this point, the City Council and its affiliated boards will recess into closed session to confer with its labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.8 regarding the Rancho Mirage Employees Association MOU. The council will also confer with the city attorney regarding one potential litigation item pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9. And the council will confer with legal counsel regarding the following pending litigation matters pursuant to Section 54956.9 of the Government Code: Miss Desert Classic Concourse versus City of Rancho Mirage, and City of Rancho Mirage versus All Valley Desert Cooperative. The council will also confer with its real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 regarding properties located at 70-801 Highway 111 and 42520 Bob Hope Drive.
Thank you, Steve, and we are in recess.